Yo, what is going on, guys? This is Wormpal, the coach of the Stavanger Vikingvolts, and welcome back to Semifinals of Season 1 of the UDN. Last week we beat Celebgo and the Copenhagen K-Knights in the quarterfinals. That was an amazing game, so go check out that battle if you haven't already. This week we are taking on Cyclone and the Honolunar Dancers, and if you don't remember, that is the guy we faced back in week 8. And we got a pretty solid 5-0 win against him then, so also go check out that battle if you haven't already. That was also an amazing game. But also check out Cyclone's YouTube channel, link is as always in the description. But this week I don't think my battle will be nearly the same as it was against him last time, since right after we played him he made 3 very big transactions on his team. He dropped his Arcanine, Registeel and his Terrakion, and picked up Buzzwole, Staraptor and Lucario, which I drafted myself during the draft, but dropped after week 3 for Mienshao. So now I have to play against it, and I am very scared since it is pretty good against my team. But those 3 transactions makes his team so much harder to prep against. Like last time it was very difficult since it was pretty stally team and very hard to break through some of his stuff. This time it is very offensive, and I did not have an easy time building for this team. And you can see the rest of his team over on the right. If you didn't see last battle, Mega Diancie was a pretty good win con for me. It didn't quite win the game for me, but it did do a lot of damage to his team, and that was kind of my win condition back then. And this time I do have another very important win condition in this Salamence. I think he will be a little more prepared for Mega Diancie, especially the Calm Mind set that I brought. So my main win condition this week will be this Salamence, which is a pretty common set with Dragon Dance, Outreach, Fly and Roost, with the Dragonium Sea to nuke something and maybe get a Moxie boost. The Sea Crystal is mainly there for the Milotic, which is one of the biggest problems for this Salamence. Milotic, Aromatisse and Sneasel are the 3 things that I need to worry the most about. But he didn't bring Sneasel or Aromatisse last time, so I don't really think he will bring any of those now. And I do have other things to deal with those, but Milotic is just really good against my entire team. But it is also his main check to my Mega Diancie, and everything on my team, or almost everything, hits it at least neutrally, so I think Milotic will be very pressured to deal with this Salamence. And also, if he's like a Flame Orb Marvel Scale set, the burn damage will also really weaken him. So I think I can get around that Suicune. But only problem with the Salamence is it is pretty hard to set up Dragon Dances. Like, there's not really anything I can freely set up on his team. Zapdos will probably have something like Hidden Power Ice. Milotic will guaranteed have Ice Beam. Megalatios of course outspeeds and is a Dragon type. Snorlax might have Ice Punch, Roserade might have Hidden Power Ice, so it's just pretty hard to set up with the Salamence, but I do have other mons to support that. And for last move I put on Roost, since last time I had Earthquake for, or no, I didn't bring it last time, but I don't need Earthquake since he no longer has the bulky Steel type in Registeel. So I just put on Roost to maybe help me set up a little easier on some of his more passive mons. But this Starmie here is mainly to help my Salamence set up much easier, since it is running a Light Clay and Reflect and Light Screen, just so that my Salamence will take less damage from attacks. Well, not just Salamence, but everything on my team really. It can help Mega Diancie set up some Calm Minds also. And I think this set is pretty good against his team, since his only defoggers are Zapdos and Megalatios. There is also this Raptor, but he's not going to run defog on this Raptor. And it should be pretty difficult for him to get rid of these screens, I think. And there are also quite a lot of mons I can set screens up on. For example, his Milotic. And with Recover and Natural Cure, I just hardwall that thing. I can also set up on his Snorlax, his Lucario, maybe even Zapdos since I do outspeed him. Maybe Megalodios if he doesn't have Thunderbolt. This Starmie set is just pretty good against his team. Very bulky on the physical side as well, so I can take hits from physical Lucario. And then Psychic as the attack move, since it hits everything decently hard. It hits what it needs to hit. I would of course like to have more attacking moves, for example an Ice Beam, but I couldn't fit it on the set since screens are very useful and important. Next up I'm running Mega Diancie. This did a lot of work against his team last time we played him, so I am of course bringing it again. Almost the same set. I only switched out Earth Power since he doesn't have Registeel anymore, and instead put on Substitute, since now I do have to worry about his Lucario, which will very likely have Bullet Punch, and I cannot live one of those. So if I can set up a Substitute on something that cannot break it, or on a switch, and then kill him after, I should be safe from his Bullet Punch, and I can easily kill him with a Moonblast, or at least deal a lot of damage to him. Calm Mind could also help me boost my Spadef, so he cannot break my sub with certain mons, and this Mega Diancie can actually switch in on surprisingly much on his team. For example, his Zapdos, unless he has Hidden Power Steel, he cannot really touch me, and it can also possibly switch in on Staraptor, but I do have to be afraid of the Hidden Powers, not Hidden Power Steel, but the Steel Wing, especially if he is Choice Scarfed, and he does not have that many good switch-ins to my Mega Diancie. I believe Rose Red is his only Fairy resist on his team, but that takes a lot from Diamond Storm, so Mega Diancie will be a very useful member on the team this week. Next up, I'm bringing Skuntank, almost the same set as last time. This is of course my Megalodios check. That is such a big threat, and I need to have one mon that's dedicated to check it. Last time Cyclone said in his video that it was weird that I used Skuntank as my Megalodios check, since he could have had Reflect type to turn into a Poison type and then be immune to my Toxic. So I took his advice kinda, and I switched out Haze for Roar, so if he tries to Reflect type me now, I can just face him out of there and he will lose that Poison type. And I also recently got swept by a Reflect type regular Latias in another league, so I really don't want that to happen again. So I am more prepared for that this time, and I can still taunt him and even just stop him from using Reflect type at all, or I can Toxic him, wear him down. So because of that, I felt like I didn't really need Crunch anymore, since I have 3 other moves to deal with his Latias, and I also did not want him to be able to get a free switch into his Lucario and then get a justified boost. So I switched out a Crunch for the Flamethrower, which should do a lot to his Lucario, I believe around 50%, and it still hits his Rose Red very hard. So that is Skuntank's job. Next up I have Seismitoad. I did not bring this last time. I switched out Uxie for this. Part of the reason I brought Uxie last time was to check his Terrakion, and he no longer has that, so I switched out for Seismitoad. And this is just a very reliable stealth rocker that deals with all of his physical attackers decently well, and can scald them back, maybe get a burn, and then I have Rest and Sleep Talk for some recovery, since I didn't feel like I needed that many other moves, and this could also help me get rid of poisons if he tries to Toxic me with his Zapdos or his Milotic, for example. So Seismitoad can just easily set up Stealth Rock on any of those without having to worry too much about getting poisoned. And I believe there was also another reason I brought this over Uxie, but it was actually a little while since we battled, so I don't remember all the details of the team. But Seismitoad just very reliable Stealth Rocker, and Rocks will still be very useful against his team, especially that Zapdos. I would really like to wear that down for Salmons to potentially sweep into late game. And for last mon, I have Magnezone, and this is just really important, this game. It deals with so many things. If I could, I would like to have 3 of these Magnezones on my team, since it just fills so many roles. This is my main way to break his Milotic. It walls it decently well, can take Skulls and hit it very hard back with Thunderbolt. Last time I brought a pretty nice Metal Sound tech to deal with his Mirror Coat Milotic, which he actually did bring. This time I couldn't fit it on the set, and I think he will be more prepared for it. And that's actually also the reason why I have this very weird IV spread. I only have 24 IVs in speed to make sure I am always slower than Milotic, even if he has 0 IVs minus speed nature. I will always be slower than him, and I can, if I ever Volt Switch on him and see that I am faster, I will know that he clicks Mirror Coat, so I can safely go into my Skuntank, which is a Dark type, so it just eats that Mirror Coat. So I think that could be like a good replacement for the Metal Sound if he does bring the Mirror Coat. And this Magnezone is also here to switch into his Raptor, which is just a very big threat to my team. Tropical Berry is of course to take close combat from that Raptor, and I can get momentum on him easily with Volt Switch, and his only ground type is a Palossand, which I really don't think he will bring, so he doesn't have that good ways to stop me from just Volt Switching around. And usually I would bring Analytic to just boost the power of my moves, but I am actually running Magnet Pull this week to be able to trap his Lucario, and with Tropical Berry and this EV spread, I should be able to live a close combat from it, even after a Swords Dance. And then after the defense drop from the close combat, Thunderbolt should always kill, or do, I think, 96% at least. So after the switching on Stealth Rock, he should be dead. And Toxic, of course, to not get entirely walled by his Mega Latias, and maybe I can also use it for some bulky mons like Snorlax, Zapdos, stuff like that. This also switches very well in against Zapdos. So yeah, Magnezone is super important this week. So that's the team. The 6 months I'm predicting him to bring were, there were 5 months I knew he would guaranteed bring, and those were Zapdos, Milotic, Lucario, Mega Latias, and Staraptor, since all of those are just pretty big threats to my team, both offensively and defensively. And the last month could be anything, could be Roserade, could be Snorlax, could be Sneasel. I didn't think he would bring Buzzwole, but you never know. And yeah, those 6 I thought he would bring. But let's jump into the battle and see what he brought. Okay, so Cyclone brought pretty much what I expected him to bring. He did bring the 5 mons that I knew he would bring, and for the last mon he brought the Snorlax, which I knew there was a chance he would bring it, but I was really hoping he would not, since I did not bring my Mienshao this week. So I'm gonna have a pretty hard time breaking through that, and other setup sets could be pretty scary against my team. Hopefully I do have some decent answers to it. But on the good side, he did not bring his Roserade, so my Mega Diancie can spam Moonblast against everything. He does not have good switches at all, and he also didn't bring Sneasel or Aromatisse, so that is very good for my Salmons. Only have to weaken the Milotic a little bit, maybe weaken the Snorlax a little bit, and I should be able to sweep with a Dragonlance in the late game. Let's jump into the game. I led with my Seismitoad, since he did not bring his Roserade and he really doesn't have anything to hit me super effectively with. So I thought this would be a very good opportunity to just lead Seismitoad and get up 3 rocks, and he does not have that many defoggers either. I know he has Zapdos, but that's gonna get very pressured by rocks. But he does choose to lead with his Zapdos, which actually really surprised me, since that is what he led with last time, and I thought he would change it up in case he thought I would predict him to lead Zapdos. But he just does again, which is actually pretty good for me, since I am a ground type and I can stop him from Volt Switching around. So here I just set up my stealth rocks. He's actually reveals the substitute, which is very annoying for me since my only attacking move is Scald, which does not break the sub. So I would really like to switch into something like Magnezone or Mega Diancie, which can take most hits from the Zapdos pretty well, and then pressure it very hard back with super effective attacks or just strong moves. But I do really want to scout out some more moves from the Zapdos before I go into any of those, since the Zapdos could very well be running Hidden Power Steel for my Diancie or Heat Wave or Hidden Power Ground for my Magnezone, so I just stayed in and Scalded here to break the sub after 2 Scalds and then see what his Zapdos can go for. He clicks Defog, that gives me another move, so his last 2 moves will most likely be like an electric type move and maybe Roost, so not that worried anymore. But he actually switches out here into his Milotic, not even gonna wait till the sub breaks, and I just get up 3 rocks. He cannot defog my way anymore. And here he makes a nice double back into his Zapdos, which I don't know if he predicted me to go Starmie here, but it was a good play by him since now he can just defog away his rocks. And I could safely set up Light Screen on this Zapdos since I'm very bulky, but he's going to defog anyway, so what's the point? And I switched into this to maybe set up screens on the Milotic since that is pretty free setup fodder. But I don't want to take an electric type move yet, so I switch out here, and I could go back into my Seismidotes, but since rocks are already up, there isn't really any point since I can't hit him either. So I go into my Diancie here, thinking he would very likely defog, and I still don't go Magnezone since he could still have like Heat Wave. But he actually goes for a discharge here. I know it won't deal that much damage to me, but he gets a paralyzed, which really sucks since this Diancie was my main way to offensively check his Mega Latias, and now I can't even speed tie with him, so that is very annoying. But I do still force the Zapdos out here, and I can click Diamond Storm, which hits everything except Lucario very hard, but he's not going to risk that early, so I can spam this pretty freely. He goes into his Snorlax, which I was first happy about since any damage on this is very good. And he reveals to be like a berry set Gluttony, and here I just click Diamond Storm again, thinking he will probably recycle, so I just want to get a little bit more damage, just scout out something. And here I switch into my Starmie as he goes for Heavy Slam, so he could have actually just killed me the last turn there. But luckily for me he just recycled, so I did not expect him to have Heavy Slam, but that pretty much tells me that he is not like a setup set since his moves are Recycle and Heavy Slam. He's probably like just mini attacks, maybe he has Curse, but I should still be able to poison this thing and have that deal pretty well with it. But this can't really hit my Starmie that hard, so I do get pretty free screens up. I just click Reflect here as he switches into his Milotic, which is very nice for me. He was probably thinking I was more of an offensive Starmie with Life Orb or Choice Specs, so he switched into his Milotic to take the hit, but he did not know that I was screens. And here I could just go for a Light Screen, but I made a pretty nice play here, and he makes a very big misplay. He switches into his Zapdos while I click the Psychic, which does 2-hit KO him after rocks. That was a very nice play by me. I did predict him to maybe go into Zapdos there, thinking that he had to get rid of the webs, or not webs, rocks and screens as early as possible, and that would most likely be his only defogger on the team. So I just click Psychic there to not let him get in his Zapdos, and the next following turn I can easily take him out with another Psychic, but he chooses to switch out into his Snorlax. But since I took him down to 25%, he will switch die on switching into rocks again. There goes Snorlax here. I switch into my Skuntank since I do have the Reflect up and I won't take that much damage, and I can maybe Toxic him or Taunt him to stop him from recycling. Here he just sacks off his Zapdos, which is okay by me. Now here he sends in his Mega Latias. This is of course a Psychic type, I am a Dark type, so the only reason he would switch this in on my Skuntank, especially after knowing that in my last game against him I used this as my counter to Mega Latias, the only reason to switch in on my Skuntank will of course be to use Reflect type, and I don't want any of that, so I click Roar as he does reveal the Reflect type. So that's pretty good for me. I just get some extra rock damage and I roar him into his Lucario, which is not the best for me since this is a pretty scary threat for me, but I do switch into my Starmie since I can take any hit decently well, especially behind Reflect, and he does reveal to be a physical set with close combat. No Life Orb, so probably C-move since that is one of his C-move users. And here I start to misplay a little bit. I click Recover, or I don't know if that was a misplay, but I could have set up a light screen there since I did live 2 hits from his Lucario there. And here I saw that he had Reflect type on his Mega Latios, so I thought the last 3 moves would maybe be like Calm Mind, Roost, and an attacking move, maybe Ice Beam. But I did not think that he would have Thunderbolt, which he does click here. And that was 81% to my Starmie. That shows that he is my special attack, so he's an offensive Latios. But I do get off the light screen, so it's not the end of the world. But getting this Starmie down to 19% really sucks because I just lost my main switch into his Lucario, and another one that could deal with his Milotic pretty well. So that really sucks. But I switched back into my Skuntank here to maybe try to Toxic him, and since I clicked Roar last time, I really didn't think he would Reflect type, but he actually does that while I click Toxic. But it's not a very big deal since I won't take that much damage from his Hidden Power Ground, and I can easily just roar him out here. But again, I'm not really that lucky with these roars, and I again roar him into his Lucario. And here is where I make the really big misplay, maybe the biggest of the entire game. I did have Flamethrower on this Skuntank, so I could have clicked that and done about half to his Lucario. But I switched out into my Seismitoad since my Starmie no longer could take the hit. He makes a very good play and clicks Sword Dance, and I can tell you I am not leaving this +2 C close combat. So he takes me out with that, and I just lose Seismitoad without being able to do anything else than set up rocks. And here I'm in a pretty tough position since nothing on my team really wants to take a hit from this Lucario. But I switch in my Magnet Zone since this set is designed to beat Lucario 1v1 even after Source Sense. As you can see, I do live the close combat with the Chocolate Berry, and I take him out with the Thunderbolt. He could not switch out there either since I did have the Magnet pull, but I don't think he expected me to beat that set anyways. He switches in Mega Latios to Revenge Kill me. I thought there would be a chance that he just Reflect types me, and I don't want that to happen, so I switch into my Skuntank to just roar him out, and you can see that is what he does. So here I of course roar. Light screen wears off, so this Hidden Power Ground will actually do a decent chunk to my Skuntank. But I roar him into his Snorlax, which I still don't have a very good way to deal with his Snorlax, but I switch into my Magnet Zone just to sack it off. I don't want anything else to take that much damage. And this is one of the few things I can actually set up screens or recover with my Starmie on, so I go into that here, and I believe I clicked Recover. Alright, actually no, I clicked Light Screen there, predicting him to go into his Mega Latios, and then I can safely switch into something else like my Diancie, for example. And I knew that even if I click Recover there, a Thunderbolt would kill me, so I think Light Screen was the right play there. So with this next turn I can switch into my Mega Diancie, which takes that Thunderbolt pretty well. And here I also make a very good play. I predict him to go back into his Snorlax, so I make a nice double into my Starmie. And I thought this would be my only good opportunity to actually recover from my Starmie, since Latias still does quite a lot to me, but behind the Light Screen I can live a Thunderbolt, so I'm no longer worried about him switching into his Latias. So I just click Recover here as he just attacks me with oh no, never mind, he clicks Recycle just to get his berry back, which makes sense. He goes into his Milotic here as I just set up the Reflects, and my game plan at this point will of course be to get off a Salmon Sweep, but that is pretty difficult since he has not sent in his Raptor yet, and at this point I'm 100% sure that he is Choice Scarf Jolly, so at +1 he does speed high with my Salmons, and I really want to try to win this game without having to risk a speed high. And the other problem is that this Milotic, before switching in, was just out of range of a +1 C move. So I need to weaken this a little bit more. And I believe that is why I just stay in here and click recover, and I think Psychic on the next turn. He recovers himself. He's not revealed any other moves yet, but I am almost 100% sure he will have Ice Beam, so I cannot set up with Salmons on this. He toxics me here, which is not a big deal since I do have Natural Cure. And here I switch into my Skuntank to try to taunt him and stop him from recovering. And the burn damage will slowly put him in range for the +1 devastating break from my Salmons. So that is what I do here. I click taunt, but he predicts that, so he switches into his Snorlax. Which is okay, since my plan here was to just let my Skuntank go down to the Snorlax, and then I can maybe safely set up a Dragonlance with Salmons behind the Reflect, as long as he doesn't have Ice Punch, which I did think would be his last move, but here he actually reveals Return, so now I know I can set up on the Snorlax. So I was really hoping he would kill me here, but he makes a nice play, switches into his Milotic, not letting me get that free setup. And I just click Roar there. I am not sure why I did that. I think that was a little misplayed, since I would much rather have this Skuntank be in against the Milotic than this Raptor. But I let my Skuntank go down here. He takes some Aftermath damage, even Brave Bird damage. And here I do go into my Starmie to set screens back up to let my Salmon sweep. But I think I actually click Psychic here. I was thinking, only thing I really don't want to happen is him switching into his Milotic and getting off a recover. So I clicked Psychic there, which would 2-hit KO after Rocks and Burn damage. So I don't know if it was the best play, but he switches into his Latios and then makes a nice play into the Milotic now while I set up my light screen. But I thought this would be a good opportunity to maybe try to set up with my Silence finally, as he's pretty much forced to recover here. And I know that behind the light screen an Ice Beam will only do like 50%, so I thought after a +1, I think if I remember correctly, a C move at +1 is a roll to kill his Milotic from here. So my first plan was to do that, but then I remembered I actually have a Roost on this set, which really saves me since I can click that, lose my Flying type. Now I'm only 2 times weak to Ice, so this Ice Beam only does 26%, which means that I can take another one while I set up another Dragonlance to make sure that I outspeed his Scarf Straptor. I do live the Ice Beam here, and the only way I think I would lose there is if he froze me with the Ice Beam, but he did not, so I was really happy about that, and I can take him out with this move. And the only way he can stop my Silence from just sweeping him here is if he has Quick Attack as Raptor, but I think that is Scarfed and don't think he would have Quick Attack, since there are quite a lot of other moves he would like to have on his set, I think. And spoiler, he did not have Quick Attacks, so Salmons is able to sweep and clean up this game. So GG to Cyclone, we get a 3-0 victory over the Honolunar Dancers in the semi-finals. I'm really proud of my play in this game. I think I played pretty well, especially like the last half of the game and the first like 10 turns. I did make a few misplays, but I think I set up that Salmon sweep pretty well, and it was a very good match. Cyclone also played very good, and he brought some sets that I didn't quite expect. But this game was also very long in like real time, since both of us take quite a lot of time to make our moves, and I know it was around midnight for him. So Cyclone, if you're watching this, I really apologize for making you play so late, and yeah, it was a pretty difficult to schedule with him since he lives 12 hours away from me. But again, go check out Cyclone's YouTube channel, link is in the description. In the finals, we are taking on Lord Sorowak, so I hope you're looking forward to that. But until next time, goodbye.